Welcome back to the Marianne Hickman Show. Now, I have to give you a heads up for this episode. This episode is with one of my dear friends, Juleekay. And in this episode, yes, we talk speaking. Yes, we talk about how to launch your podcast and what it's been like for Julie to get her podcast off the ground, posted, edited, all of the fun things. But Julie's expertise deals with a very heavy-hitting topic. I know a lot of you have struggled maybe on different levels, maybe sometimes on superficial levels. We all have challenges and we all have struggles, but sometimes those struggles get really dark and it turns into something that could be life-ending in terms of suicide. Unfortunately, this is a topic that is all too relevant, but it's also a topic that we get to talk about and get to discuss. And that is why Julie started her show. That is why Julie is getting on stages. And that is why Julie is willing to tackle this really heavy-hitting topic because it just might save a life. I want you to see how she's taking this topic to the stage and helping people with it. Check it out.
Am I looking old today? Because, hey, somebody told me I look old. And guess what? I am. I mean, I've got some years on me and I've got some experiences and some life I lived.
I love that.
You know, you live, you get wrinkles, you know, because you challenge.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I'm proud of every wrinkle I have.
Well, yeah. Well, we work hard to, I mean, if you think about it, this funny thing, I was just thinking about this recently. I was talking to someone else, maybe on their podcast about it, about the standards that we have as men and women. And I was like, if you're in the workplace, does a dude ever stand in front of the mirror and spend 20 minutes putting on his makeup and picking out his outfit? It just doesn't happen. I do, because that's the standard that I have aligned at myself with at the time or whatever, because I thought it was the way it had to be. And I hate getting dressed for other people. I've decided that. I don't like I have to show up this way for this person. No. I'm just going to, which is why I'm wearing my fuzzy socks and I'm sitting cross-legged in my own chair. I'm just so tired of trying to please everybody. But the age thing that you bring up, like, we spend so much time getting healthier so that we can live longer lives. And we spend so much time creating safety for ourselves and all of these things. And if we were ever in danger, we'd try to protect ourselves. And it's because we want to live a long life. So when we want to live a long life, age is an honor.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I do understand a lot of women, you know, that want to go get all the facial stuff done and all that, because I went to school to be a master esthetician. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't think I knew that, no.
Yeah, I did. I went to school to be a master esthetician, so I know all about the microneedling and the pills and all that stuff, and they're great.
Yeah.
It builds your confidence. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Not opposed to that.
But to be, like, offended when somebody says, you know, whatever... You know, I for half a second, I'm not going to lie. I was offended for a half a second. And then I'm like, wait a minute. You know? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I am wanted.
You are.
And
I'm going to deny that call. It's
okay.
From Carl. Is that okay?
Yeah. That's my daughter's ex-husband. Yeah. Denied that call.
Sorry, Carl.
We'll just have to wait a little bit.
Call you back. Maybe.
Anyways, but yeah, so.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about you starting your podcast. This is your second podcast workshop that you've been to. We have finally got you on my show. I wasn't able to get you last time, but I finally, got in there and had you on my show. And I wanted to ask why you decided to start a podcast. Because we work with a small group of people. It's not a common thing to actually put forth the time, energy, money, and effort to launch something like that. A lot of people say that they want to, or it would be a fun idea one day, but when you bring it down to actually people ready to take action and do it, that number is very small. What made you want to?
I'm doing it because I want to be able to reach out to people and help people. And by doing podcasts, you can reach more of an audience of people you can help serve. I am speaking. I help people with suicidal ideation and put their lives back together after they have attempted suicide and failed. So glad they failed.
Yeah.
Because if they would have succeeded, they wouldn't be here. So sometimes it's good to fail, and that's a good failure right there. But by doing podcasts, I can reach more people, and help whoever I can.
Yeah.
I can't help everybody.
No.
Because, when you try and help everybody, you help nobody. And so, hopefully this will bring the people that are looking for someone, to listen to them, to be there for them, to guide them, to give them tricks and tools to get past some of the traumas that they're carrying deep without. Yeah. Pineapple.
We don't edit mid podcast.
We don't. Let's
We don't
go.
do that.
She's using my trick. When you guys see my short form podcast and I'm like monologuing, I use that word pineapple when I need to go back and edit something. So it's like our little inside joke now. I need to get like pineapple charms and be like, that's going to be our symbol. That's going to be not upside down pineapples. We don't do that around here. But the right side up ones are delicious. And like, it's okay. It's okay to be human. I think that's, maybe we'll pick a different word because that one's got a weird stigma or whatever, but let's reclaim pineapples.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Listen, I'm interrupting my own show because I want to give you something. Now, you guys all want to get on more stages. I've got a free resource for you of stages that are just clamoring for guests. They need guests on a daily, weekly, sometimes monthly basis. This is my podcast database. Now, what I'm going to do is have you go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put in your information there, I'm going to send this to you totally for free. Open up this database. You're going to click through it, find the next podcast that's relevant to your topic, hit the application button, show up on their podcast, get in front of their people, and share your content. Remember, mariannehickman.com/database. Let's get you unlocked.
Anyway, so that's why. Just to be able to be reachable and to be able to reach out to others.
Well, and you're speaking at the event coming up here just in a couple of weeks. We're going to be putting you on the hot seat. How are you feeling?
Nervous.
Yeah?
Nervous. Yeah, because you're going to have me up there for quite a while. And
Long
you're gonna
time.
pick me apart. And, nobody likes to be criticized or told how they've done something here wrong or they're wrong. But it's going to be amazing because even if I'm being told, well, you don't do this right and that, I'm learning. And the more I learn, the more effective I can be. And the more effective that I am, the more people I can reach.
Well, and that's why part of my heart was like, I want to do another episode after the pressure cooker, like a follow-up episode. And Rich, I don't know if we should like stitch it into this episode or if we just should push this one out and then do a part 2. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know how far out we are on podcasts right now, but that would be kind of interesting to maybe just have a follow-up conversation and we can just like maybe stitch it into the end of this interview or something like that. Just to...
Well, we're going to have a part 2 afterwards because
Yeah.
I want to see afterward what the experience was like for you. Because when we do a hot seat pressure cooker, we're putting you on stage. We are saying, okay, we're going to critique everything, right? And that's the scariest part. This is why people don't get into public speaking because it's so scary and so vulnerable to be critiqued. I'm bearing my soul to you and you're here to pick me apart. Who wants to do that?
Right.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm going to learn how to maneuver things and do things, correct.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get where you want to go. I like to say you get where you want to go either through mistakes or mentoring.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me.
That's all right, girl. You go for it.
It's getting cold in Utah, and when
It
it starts
is.
getting cold, the nose starts to run.
Hence the fluffy slippers. That's why I keep the fluffy slippers on. I should just put people in fluffy slippers for the podcast. Yeah?
Take your fluffy
Maybe
slippers.
UGG will sponsor us or something. But I need to get with Renee. Huh? Pineapple? Pineapple slippers? There we go. But I need to find someone that does all cotton cloths because of what you said in your group the other day. So we'll work on that. Apparently my leggings are poisoning me now, which I'm pretty pissed about. But
Well, what if she puts them on over the top of something? Does it still get through? Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately. But okay, I wanted to talk about this upcoming event. It's happening in like 2-3 weeks. We're putting together your keynote, which I saw you typed up, which is awesome. And I want to look through it. And the reason that, and a lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to read from a script for my keynote because I don't want it to sound memorized. And you're right. I don't want it to sound memorized either. When we get on the stage, I do not want it to sound memorized. And you've done enough improv classes where you have this psychology already built in to where you could go off the cuff. Mm-hmm. No problem. And improvise and have fun with it. Your personality is so freaking hilarious and so funny and so relatable and so down to earth. I want those elements of it in there. At the same time, I want it written. And then what I want to do is take this recording that we're going to do when we record your keynote. And I want to say, here's what I do with ChatGPT. I say, write me a thing. And then I'm going to make my own version of the thing, tell you what I did with the final product and have you polish it so I can write a final book. What I want to do with yours is get that transcript from what you actually deliver, interweave it into the written version of what you have, and then have you go through and edit the final product, because now that is not only a series of blog posts, it's now an anthology. You could be put in a book with that story, right? If there's ever any books that are being written, I'm hoping, Dan, if you are listening, Dan Clark, my chicken soup for the soul bestie, we need to write a book together, and I want to put my speakers in it. That's what I want to do.
That would be amazing.
How cool would that be? Right?
That would be amazing.
So I expect a text from Dan. Okay, so let's talk about what you're nervous about, what you're hoping for.
Well, obviously, I'm nervous about, am I writing the keynote speech like I'm supposed to? Am I putting too much trauma in it? Because I do have a lot of trauma, but at the same time, I'm trying to talk about like when a trauma and then tell what I learned from that trauma.
Right.
And so like I talk about a trauma at 4 years old, but what can a 4-year-old tell you that they learned from a trauma?
We don't learn.
But I did. I learned to be very standoffish and watch people and not allow them, even when they were nice to me, to get close to me for quite a large period of time.
So you learned something.
So you learn something, and it's just integrated, but you don't realize you learned it. It just happens.
Right. Right.
You know, so I'm trying with each story, you know, and I'm also trying to throw in some funny little stories, you know, I told you one. But, you know, so, and, you know, just different things I've learned from the things that happened.
Yeah.
You know, and where I am today, because, you know, as you know, my big thing is suicide.
Yeah.
And that's a hard word for
It's
people.
a heavy word.
It is. And as soon as people sometimes hear that, they just shut down or they shrivel up, either because they've attempted or they have somebody that they've lost, you know, or, you know, I fear. I have 4 kids, you know, and I watch them go through up and downs. And I have that fear as a mother. What if? What if one of my kids, you know? And so to hear that word, it brings in a lot of different thoughts to people.
Yeah.
So I that's my goal, is to try and talk to people and be there for people who are feeling that way.
And that's a challenge, because you're right. As soon as you say that word, you're going to polarize your audience.
Right.
And if you do that at the right time, it's actually a really good thing, because the people that need to be with you are with you, and the people that are not meant for you will just enjoy the time they got to spend and go about their merry way, right? But if we do it too early, we lose the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. If you jump on the stage and say, "Hi, I'm here to talk about suicide," the whole place is going to shut down. Yep. People are going to leave. People are going to be like, "I don't want to hear this," you know, or they're going to have a vision of somebody they've lost, and it's going to shut them down. And so that's why you gotta take your time and bring them into who you are and some of the things you've experienced before this situation happened to you, and show them that you are human just like they are.
Yeah.
You know, you've had good and you've had bad, and you've had experiences. And, you know, once you know, like you said, at the right moment, share that.
Yeah.
You know, and then continue with, you know, what happened after.
Yeah.
You know, here I am today.
Yeah. And spoiler alert.
Spoiler
we made
alert,
it.
5 attempts and here I am.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I will not attempt again ever, you know, because I've learned too much about it and I see how it's affected too many people. And I don't want to be the cause of my children's or anybody's pain because of my choice to not deal with whatever's been put on my plate. Because whatever's put on your plate, you can fix it. You can change it.
It's your plate.
Yeah.
Might not be the food that you picked, but it's your plate.
And you could change anything. That's one thing in life that is totally constant, and that's change. Constant change, whether it's good or it's bad. The world is constantly revolving, and we are constantly changing.
Well, and some people really value change. They value the variety. They value the change in scenery, the whatever it is. And some people are very, very scared of change. And they try and insulate themselves and protect themselves from it, and they remain in this plate of stasis. You know, and
they become polarized.
Yeah,
unable to move, and it's like. But can you imagine if your life stayed the same every day, like the show Truman? Every day,
I know, right?
Poor guy, you know. How could you have your life always be the same? Nothing ever changes. You know, you got to have change. You can't have joy and you can't have happiness if you don't feel sorrow or experience loss.
Yeah. So when you're delivering your keynote, how are you going to decide, because you're walking this, like you said, this fine line of, I've had so many life experiences, and you and I have talked, and I don't even know a tenth of it, I'm sure, but you've had 5 attempts. One attempt in and of itself is a heavy, heavy topic, much less 5, much less, I mean, everything that you go through, just, you have such a high tolerance in your life for, not even a high tolerance, a high resilience level for the amount of chaos that you've been through, right? Outside the attempts and all of the other things that have been going on. What is your thought on how do I construct and we'll go over this when it's time, but leading up to it, you've got to construct a story that is compelling, is worth telling, which you have, but in a way that doesn't invoke pity from your audience.
Right. Yeah, because I don't want people to pity me.
No.
You know, because, no. I mean, I'm amazed. I've come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's definitely not what I want.
No, and an audience that pities you, they don't want to hear you speak again. They just want to give you a hug and say, I'm sorry for you.
Yeah, good luck. And, you know, I hope to see you sometime in the future. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to see that I'm not a victim, you know. You know, I say in my speech, you know, I go from a victim to a champion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've overcome a lot, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to keep going.
But not only that, it's your audience that wants to feel that about themselves.
Right.
Especially with such a heavy hitting topic. I was talking to Alton, and you were on his show recently, right?
Yeah.
And he's got this whole company called Shatter 55, which I am so in love with because every 55 seconds we lose someone.
Yes.
And he wants to shatter that. So he was talking to us, and he was very hesitant about starting this because of the responsibility that comes with this heavy hitting topic. And he said, what if I say something and I still lose someone?
And that's a possibility.
But
we can't carry that on our shoulders because, I mean, we can do everything we can. We can be there. We can listen, you know. And I know this is weird, but I encourage it. If breaking something brings you release, put together some stuff you don't really care that much about. And you know what? Go out and break it in a pit.
They've made businesses out of this.
Oh, yeah.
The rage rooms.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Shattered. There's one in Salt Lake called Shattered.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I've done that many times. I've even broke a few things that I regretted, but you know what? It's like a release,
Yeah.
you know? But to feel responsible if somebody follows through and does it, as long as you know that you were there and you tried, is all that matters. Because you can't control what anybody else does.
Yeah.
In the end, the only person we have any control over is ourselves.
So you have created your podcast. It's called Mending Pieces after this breaking analogy that you've got. Walk us through that, because I know there are some people that have never heard of kintsugi before, but your whole logo is based on it.
Yeah, so it's like a purple bowl that's been shattered, but it's been put back together with gold. And when it was put back together, it makes it stronger and it reinforces it and it makes it new and more beautiful. Because now it has a design going through it, you know, and that's like our lives. It can be broken, it can be shattered, but you can take and you could put it back together, you know, and then it becomes beautiful, you know. But I'm not going to say you're not going to have some ups and downs, because people think everything's always going to just keep going up. You're going to have some swerves along the way. It's normal.
Yeah.
You know, but to believe in yourself, you know, and part of what I believe too is like, you know, the bowl and putting it back together is you got to put back together your families. Because when things like this happen, it shatters them as well. And so they're going to need help putting themselves back together, because they're going to have feelings about what happened and what's gone on. And so with my daughter, I made her my anchor. And an anchor is someone that you choose to not want to ever disappoint. That, you know, you love them so much, which I do, that the last thing you want to do is cause her pain.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've made her my anchor. And if I feel like things aren't going right, I call her and I talk to her. And I can never, ever try to commit suicide again because I have made a promise to her that I will never do that again.
Is that one of the tools that you tell people to do?
Yes, to get an anchor.
Yeah.
To get an anchor. It's very important to have an anchor, someone you can call. You know, and you might want to have a couple because, you know, you might not be able to get a hold of the one because they could be at work or they could be on a cruise ship in the middle of nowhere. You know, so you got to have more than one, you know, have some people you can call. You know, and I not only do that with the suicide thing, but I do that with mental illness because I suffer mental illness. I have medication I take, and sometimes it makes me feel very weird. And when it does that, you know, I'll call her and I'll say, something's not feeling right.
Yeah.
I don't feel normal. And with a lot of medications nowadays that people take, one of the side effects says may cause suicidal thoughts.
It's on every ad I have seen.
And so,
oh my gosh,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's why she's, you know, she knows if I call her. So when I call her and I say that, she immediately gets on the phone and calls.
How does she do it? Like, do you find that it's like a super overwhelming pressure for her? Is she grateful for the opportunity?
She loves the opportunity to be able to do that because of the attempts that I have made.
Yeah.
And it makes her feel more secure if I go to her and tell her I'm not feeling right because of this medication or whatever. And then she calls her siblings and then my phone just starts ringing off the hook. What are you doing, Mom? Where are you at, Mom? They have my location. My kids follow my location. Even today, I'm on their location.
Yeah, I do that with all my sisters and my daughters. And my sons too. Mostly because it's like, did you get home okay? It's my paranoid mom inside of me. You know, like, give me an alert when you get home. So when you had your daughter take this position in your life, was that like a conversation that you had of like, hey, this is what I need you to do to show up for me? Or has it just, does she know that she's your anchor?
Yeah, she knows.
Okay.
So the last time I did this happened, she said, Mom, you can't do this anymore. I need you in my life, you know. And I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to call you if I start feeling crappy. She says,
if I was her, I'd be relieved when I heard that.
Yeah, she says, call me anytime. I don't care, night or day. You always call me no matter what. And so I'm the same with her because she's going through her own stuff right now, which is having a brand new baby, postpartum depression, boyfriend that's not that great, all that stuff that's going on. And so she calls me. We talk every day. And if we don't talk that day, late that night, we'll call and just say, hey, I didn't hear your voice today. You know, just because that's what we do. And she's like, she's my best friend. She's my best friend. And so I think she feels relieved knowing that I will call her and let her know, as opposed to feeling like it's a pressure.
So when you're recommending that people get an anchor, big difference. Do you what do you tell them to do? Do you explain to them what an anchor is and then say, get someone right now who will agree to be this person for you? Because it sounds like with your daughter, if I were in her shoes, I would be grateful too.
Yeah.
I would be like, please call me, please message me. Just let's talk. Let's just walk you through it. It doesn't feel like it would be a burden, you know, but I could see some people thinking and not getting an anchor because they don't want to impose themselves on somebody.
Right, right. And sometimes, I mean, you might not have a family member that you're close to or a best friend, but there's coaches out there. You know, you can get a coach and build a relationship and a rapport with them. You know, if you go to church, I go to church. I'm a reborn again Christian. And so I go to church and I have a very strong belief in God. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I have met some really wonderful women in my church going to Bible studies and stuff. So, you know, even them, you know, if I needed to reach out to, I know I could call them if I couldn't get a hold of her.
Yeah, there's a couple ladies in my church ward that I would call. If it came down to the wire, I would call them.
So, I mean, if you don't have somebody particular, search it out, fill it out, pray about it.
Yeah.
Think about it, write a list, you know, and then ask them, hey, you know I suffer from suicidal ideation and I think about it a lot. And sometimes I feel like I might go over the edge. Would you mind if I called you if I felt like things weren't going well? and most people would say, yeah, call me.
Yeah.
Because they'd rather talk to you and be there to help save your life than go to your funeral.
Amen. It takes a lot of guts to do that, though. It takes so much to own that.
It does. But once you own it, it gives you a power.
Yeah.
It makes you feel more in control of things. It makes you, and then, when somebody's really suicidal, a gratitude list is a wonderful thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Make that list. Write down what you're grateful for.
Well, I think what you're saying is really hitting home, and it's gosh, you speak to families who have gone through this and who battle with this specifically, and that needs to happen, and that niche is so important. And at the same time, I'm listening to you thinking like, okay, I thank God I haven't struggled with that, for my whole life. If I were to be completely honest, there were times when I thought the exit would be easier, but I didn't wrestle with the daily ideation of it. I think everyone once in a while has that little demon cross their mind.
Oh, yeah.
More often than we'd care to admit. But I think about how beneficial would it be just as a society, even if you're not that far into it, to just have someone that I didn't hear your voice today. How are you? Yep. I didn't necessarily struggle with the suicidal ideation today, but it makes me just want to call my daughter and be like, I know that things aren't that bad. At least I hope they're not. But just how are you? What if I had a support person or my own anchor this is just our check-in every day? I think that's why I started the accountability call, honestly, is just to check in with people every day. But just to have one person to check in with or one person that gratitude list that you're talking about every day. Yep. A lot of these things are not only the life preserver, the rescuer, but they're also the preventative medication.
Yep.
For all of this. If you don't want to see yourself go down that road, do these things. Do you have something when you're building your keynote? Do you have an exercise or something that you walk people through while you're in the room with them that is practical, real-time application?
I'm working on that.
That would be awesome.
I will be honest, I'm working on that. So.
Yeah. What are you toying with? What are you teasing right now? Do you have any ideas?
Well, I'm thinking, to have them close their eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then visualize what they see in their future. Forget about all the pain that you're feeling right now and what's going on with your marriage or with your job or with your bank account. And I want you to think about what you want in your future. Okay, now I'm lost. But here's another idea.
This is good. I mean, I'm glad we're teasing this out because this is what makes your presentation transformational rather than just informational. If they can walk away with a tool, just one tool in their tool belt that they did in that moment. Like if we were to do this and we did a visualization, then at that point I'd want them to write it down, at least a sentence, at least one. Yeah. Right? Or something like, I actually like the idea of an anchor. If you're live at the event, I would say after you do your 3 content pieces that you've put together, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did, and here's what we're all going to do right now. Think of one person in your life that you can bring in as your lifeline or as your anchor, right? Yeah. Send them a message right now. You have 30 seconds, go. And say, hey, if I'm ever struggling, can you be the one I reach out to?
See, there you go. See, this is what was supposed to happen today. See, that is perfect.
I mean, everyone in the audience could do that.
Yeah.
It's a safe thing. And it doesn't have to, and it's this safety of we're not polarizing.
Right.
Right? Just because you're texting someone doesn't mean that you're struggling with suicidal ideation. Right. It's just a very easy text that says, hey, while I'm building, while I'm growing, while I'm putting stuff together, I'm working on XYZ or whatever. If I ever get to a point where I struggle, can I reach out to you?
Yeah, and all they have to use the word is struggle. They don't need to say suicide. Because as soon as they say suicide, every phone in there is going to start ringing.
Oh, their alarms are going to go off and like crazy.
So just say struggle.
If I'm ever struggling, can I call you?
Yeah.
That would be a great thing to do.
And there we go. See, we already got it. Thank you very much.
Done. Okay, so we've got your topic. You're really honed in on that. Do you know what your content pieces are going to be for your keynote?
When I'm 4. That little story about when I was 4.
Okay.
I don't know if I told you that one. It was an incident on a playground, but I got that.
Yeah.
And the first little one's really, it's just a little, it's about a dog. And it's really cute. It's just a little, pick me up.
Yeah.
Anyways, pulled me down on my skates. And and then there's that. And then I'm going to go further. I was going to do a little thing about when I met God at the age of 7 real quick. And then I'm going to talk about my grandma.
Yeah.
When I was 12. And then I'm going to jump further into the future, after a lot of life events happened. And so I think, I don't know, we need to talk about it. I need a little direction.
Well, you've got the pieces, which is great. So when you're building your keynote, you'll start with, like we've talked about, your enrolling questions. And those I like to do a basic blueprint of that and then circle back on them after we get your content really ironed out, because your 3 enrolling questions are going to speak to your content later on. So we'll get a framework and then we'll revisit them and really hang up the curtains and make it beautiful. And then we get your introduction of, I'm Juleekay and this is what I'm doing. And then we'll go into this story, and you have got several micro stories. That's awesome. And I want you to keep those. And this is what we'll fine tune, is that these micro stories are going to step down into the depth of the emotion, so we polarize appropriately at the right time. So we talk about the falling down on the skates. It's a great intro. It's very lighthearted. And then we get deeper, and then we get deeper, and then we get deeper. And then there's the moment, right? At the very, very bottom of the swimming pool where it felt most crushing, where and it's the moment. And again, I tell people, you cannot share a moment from stage that you have not healed from.
Right.
Because if you do, this is going to invoke pity, and you can't lead anyone.
Right.
You haven't learned anything from it. And as we're crawling out of this awful, awful place, which we'll craft on how to tell that in the most appropriate but most powerful way at the same time, we're going to say, here's what I did. Number 1. And then you can tell the story of, how you found God or an element of what you did. Then here's what I did. Number 2, I decided I needed a lifeline. And here's how I did it. And then here's what I did. Number 3. And here's the story of how that happened and how I did it. And these little micro stories as we step out. And then here's what we're all going to do right now. Here's something you can do today, even if you're not struggling with this depths of ideation, or even if you are. This is both a cure and a prevention. I want you to pull out your phones right now. And here's our exercise. I want you to think of the first name that comes to mind when you think, who would be my biggest cheerleader? Who would have my back no matter what? And if it's God, you're going to pull out your scripture app and you're going to talk to him. And if it's a friend whose name came to mind, you're going to pull out their number right now and you're going to just text them and say, when I'm struggling, can you be there for me? And have the audience send out that text and then get some shares. It can be like a 90-second exercise. It doesn't even have to be that long, right? And then you're going to do your primary call to action of, if you are struggling with this, here's my book. Download it. It's yours. It's everything that I talked about today. By the way, when we built your book, that's just your keynote in a micro form. So we can use the same steps, right? Because your book is the same as your content, is the same as your keynote, is the same as your social media content, everything. And then we do our call to action and then we wrap up. And I don't know, you have some flexibility with your stage presence because you have the ability to flex your emotions. You can make people laugh and you can make people feel very deeply at the same time. So I'm curious where your keynote's going to end up. Are we going to connect with rah, laughter, fun stuff, super high energy? Or are we going to connect deeply from my heart to yours? I believe in you.
I think we're going to be kind of like on a roller coaster. We're going to be like, yeah. Oh,
the whole thing will be like that.
Yeah,
it'll be it'll be like an
yeah.
EKG. As long as we don't get whiplash. As long as we don't get whiplash. We want the roller coaster.
In the audience? You notice I didn't call for a doctor.
And nurses.
Doctors are way too expensive. Nurses.
Renee's like, I'm here.
Oh, you're a nurse, huh? Oh, no.
Oh, she's better than a nurse in my mind.
Better than a nurse, yeah.
So what are you most excited about with the future of your podcast, the future of your keynote? Where are you taking this whole thing?
People I'm going to meet along the way as I'm doing, guests for my podcast, the different things I'm going to learn from them, and the different people that I'm going to be talking to on a daily and coaching, and helping them, find their path. And And I really hope that as I help them find their path, that it lights a fire within them to reach out and help others find their paths.
What does the pinnacle look like for you? If you say it's 10 years down in my business, my podcast has been going for 10 years, I've been speaking for 10 years, what does that milestone really look like? Full color.
Full color. I would continue my speaking because I just love it. I just love to be able to share with people and be part of. And I mean, I never want to be like those people that are so big that they don't let you get close, like Tony Robbins and stuff. Yeah, he's amazing and he teaches a lot and he does a lot, but he's guarded. You know, you can't really, I want to be reachable. Mm-hmm. I want somebody to be able to message me on Facebook and say, hey, and me message them back and talk to them. I don't ever want to be unattainable.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to have that big head and, oh, I'm successful and, you know, you're not. No.
That's
not
you.
About that.
No.
You know, and it's like, I want to help people. I mean, I would love to be able to put together places for people to live, you know, or to come in and get the help if they need to come in for a little while, you know, and stay for a while. I mean, I guess they're like psychiatric units here, but I want them to be more of a home-like thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and not so sterile and, you know, yeah, you get a lot of help in there and you get the medications and stuff and all that. But I want there to be, you know, it's like
real healing, not
real
just
healing.
treatment.
Yeah, yeah. And be able to, you know, yeah, I want to give back, you know. I mean, a lot has been given to me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've got to give back what has freely been given to me, you know, and I don't know.
One day we're going to build a retreat center.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Right, an intensive center. We can spend a week there. People can come and go for a week or a month or however they need. And they've got equine therapy and they've got aviation therapy with the birds and the butterflies and the art therapies. There's a lady I need to introduce you to. She's out of California, actually. And she does, I just had her on the podcast. Her name is slipping my mind, though. Do you remember that lady that did glass art? What she does is she runs a shop.
Yeah, I don't remember, sorry.
They do fired glass art where it's not like you're blowing glass in an oven with the twisting and the tubes and stuff, but she does broken glass art.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Right? It's like you have this plate and you break glass and you arrange it in little patterns and then you fire it to something like 1400 degrees. She's the brilliant mind. I don't know how many. But then what it does is it softens the edges and it melts it all together and you create these beautiful works of art out of broken glass. Exactly.
Just like my bowl, yeah.
Imagine having that kind of a therapy at your retreat center.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It would.
Oh, okay. Well, I know there's plenty of people that would align with your vision. I know there's part of me that aligns with it because I have a goal to build a retreat center sometime too, because of all the healing that I've experienced. You know, I spent a lot of time in my own personal development. I spent time in a trauma treatment facility. You know, that there's a place for that, and it's so needed. And I hope you pursue that like crazy.
Oh, I am.
Good.
Because I believe everybody's gonna be affected by trauma. If you're breathing, you've either been affected by it or you will be.
Yeah.
It's part of life.
And the goal is to be the hero of the story and not the victim of it.
Yep. Well,
you're doing good work. I believe in you. Where can people get your book?
You can get my book at juleekay.com/free book. That's Julie, Julee.
Different.
Kay.
And we'll have that in the show notes too. So Richard will make sure we put that in the show notes. You can just click on the show notes if you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you can find it there. But we'll make that available. I would highly recommend. We wrote this book together, and what you've got in there, I had a feeling that when we wrote it, that material is going to help someone turn a corner and possibly save a lot of lives. I know it's going to save a lot of lives. So thank you for being willing to speak up. Thank you for being willing to get on stage. Thank you for willing to put your message out there.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Marianne Hickman Show. Go check out Juleekay's work. Follow her on social. Definitely get a book, maybe for you or someone you love. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed that episode. We have some pretty amazing speakers on my podcast and, of course, more to come. If this is something that you enjoyed, guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. You guys know what to do. I love your comments and I respond to every single one of them personally, not a bot or an agency. So if this is something you're enjoying, tell me about it. Tell me your gold nuggets. I want to hear from you. But here's the most important thing I want you to laser in on. I told you about the podcast database. You've probably seen me post about it all over social media. I want to make sure that you get it. So here's what I want you to do. Go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put all of your information in there, I'm going to send you the document. You request access to it. Boom, it's unlocked. Once you're in there, my rule of thumb is to apply to 10 podcasts a month. It's very digestible. It's very easy to do. And the database gets updated twice a week. So I want you constantly checking back in there for the next podcast that fits your audience. Thank you for being here. Much love to you, and we'll see you in the next episode.